get a little bit more of a service than the individual who's using the
You get access.
box.
One of the things that you get is you get access to an awful lot more of the pay-per-view channels, which are at different times. And the reason the pay-per-view channels are at different times is because it becomes a little bit of video on demand. In other words, the same movie might be starting at 3 or 4 different times during the evening, so that if you have different things to do, if you have a different lifestyle, you can still say that movie. It's not exactly video on demand, but it becomes closer to being able to see a particular movie when you want to see it. So but again, going back to the HBOs, we have to assign bandwidth to those channels. So if we're going to assign that bandwidth, we can't provide them to just the digital subscriber or just the analog subscriber, so they have to be on both.
Another thing, Bob, just another experience, and I left you a nasty message a few weeks back.
Yes, you did. Yep.
I left you a nasty message. I have his number, by the way. And I tell you, I think I spent a total of about 7.5 or 8 hours on the phone trying to get a second box in my house to work, in 5 different boxes in the house. 2 different people coming to the house to try and get it to go, and I probably talked to about 8 different people on the phone. It was rather frustrating, in case you didn't get the message.
No, I think
yeah. It was a rather frustrating experience. To boot, I mean, I picked up 3 of the boxes. I had to go down to Reading again, which was one of the reasons why I asked, since you've got a setup out here in Concord Street, I could have saved a little bit on that expensive gasoline traveling to Concord Street rather than down to Reading Square. But that was a rather frustrating experience, and bumped into a lot of good people along the way as far as making an effort to rectify the situation, which took about a week to get it squared up. And it wasn't a big deal. It took some woman on the other end of the phone who had been around your operations for about 8 or 10 years who said, well, this isn't right. I'm going to call you back in 15 minutes. And she's the one that straightened it all out. But unfortunately, she was about the 8th person I got to. So, lest anybody be concerned, members of the board do not get any preferential treatment.
No.
I think we get treated the same as everybody else, which is unfortunately sometimes frustrating. But I did want to let everybody know that I did express my concern to you. Fortunately, I got your voicemail.
But and I will give you the same courtesy. You did not try to. Your frustration was voiced after the fact, and you did not try to exercise
absolutely
as a member of the board trying to obtain that preferential treatment. So
I
appreciate that.
I suffered through the whole process. Yep. Because how else could I sit here and really appreciate?
How else could you legitimately
appreciate and then complain, right? But again, on a personal note, for the number of years that I was on the board previously, back in the late '80s, early '90s, and you were around then, and then back on here now for another 4 years. And again, you've always been very straightforward, and certainly appreciate your candidness, your willingness to take it on the chin and stand there with a smile and tell us no anyway. You've done a good job with that. And I really, if there was some way that we could encourage AT&T Broadband, whoever they are now, your bosses, to realign your territory, I think you've served us very well. Personally, you've done a good job in responding to our concerns. We can't always satisfy everybody, obviously. And again, people are probably going to be saying, I couldn't even hear that guy tonight because the reception in this room stinks.
Well, if people can't hear me, then the audio really is.
Okay. So
but I appreciate your remarks, and I can't stress enough that I have an affinity for North Reading as well, developed over the past 15 years, and I feel strongly about trying to provide them the best service. So I've said this to Tom, and please feel free. I want to be accessible. This is not my territory anymore per se, but this is a place that I have strong feelings about, and I want to make sure it gets taken care of. So I won't be upset at all if I hear from you even the occasional good news. So, and I appreciate the way the board over the years has dealt with us as well in a very professional, business-like way. Again, we've agreed to disagree at times, but I think we've got the best interests of the subscriber at heart on both sides of the table here. So we're in a business and we're trying to make a profit, but we can't make that profit without satisfying the subscriber as well, and the board has always done a good job representing those interests. So it's been a fun time for me, and I thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions for Mr. Kyle? Yeah, Mr. Perry?
I did investigate competition. I have attempted on several occasions to reach RCN to see what their interest in coming into the town of North Reading. I finally got a hold of I finally found out who the director of marketing is, and that's the one, I guess, that has the plan or whatever interest there are in going into towns. He's never returned my call, so it only indicates to me that at this point in time, they don't have an interest in coming into the town of North Reading. I'll still attempt to reach him personally and see if he has got a long-range plan that he hasn't admitted to at this point.
Well, I know the Cable Advisory Committee, and again, Bill, along with the other members, were involved with the negotiations of the contract, which, some people like, some people don't, as was myself at the time. But I also know the Cable Advisory Committee has been asked by the board several times to look into it, keep the lines of communication open with other competitors, and hopefully keep you people honest. And again, the rates that you said are regulated at the state level too. So it's, as far as the say that we have, it's very little.
Very little. Right.
Very little. So all we can do is express our concern and consternation at times, and come in and beat you a little bit. But other than that, I think Cable Advisory Committee is doing a good job of getting our bird dogs out there and looking out for our interests. And personally, I think the contract was in our best interest at the time, just to what we negotiated.
Good.
So again, we thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. And we look forward to meeting this other gentleman.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Next order of business, proclamation. Mr. Bagan.
Do you have a proclamation? Mr. Chairman, I move to proclaim April 27th, 2001 as Arbor Day in North Reading.
Motion, is there a second? Second. Made and seconded. Again, just for people's information, there will be a ceremony at Ipswich River Park on Arbor Day, April 27, 2001 at 10 a.m., at which point the chair will be participating in the program, and everybody's invited to attend. Again, some students from the Hood School will be assisting in sponsorship of this event, and hopes to be a good day. Mr. Bagan is handing this off since it's my name. He's not going to get roped into this again, right? So, no, so is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, unanimous. With that, I will read the proclamation. Whereas, this tree planting for Arbor Day makes a great deal of difference to our world. Trees do so much good. They help prevent soil from erosion and stop rain from making gullies. They protect the fields and shelter homes on streets. Trees mark the changing of the seasons, and whereas for our wildlife, our trees provide nesting sites for the songbirds, they provide food and cover for a wide variety of animals, and whereas trees provide cool breezes on hot summer days, which saves energy costs for air conditioners and other electrical items such as fans, and whereas they provide the oxygen we breathe, remove air pollution, as well as increase property values by providing windbreakers, as well as adding color, flowers, nuts, and orchards, and whereas we use a vast variety of forest products which come from all parts of the tree. Examples: trunk, flowers, leaves, sap, fruit, bark, and roots. Their beauty adds color and flowers to natural surroundings. And whereas, last but not least, they give kids a place to climb and build their tree houses, let's take care of them. Now, therefore, we, the Board of Selectmen, the town of North Reading, do hereby proclaim April 27, 2001, Arbor Day in North Reading, and urge all citizens of North Reading to help protect and promote the growth and well-being of the trees within our forests, parks, and open spaces. Signed by Stephen O'Leary, Chairman of the Board. Yeah. Over. Thank you very much.
Good job.
License renewals. You're going to start, what do you have in your pile there, Mr. Bagan? What order are they in? You have some motions here, but...
Candlewood Lanes.
Candlewood Lanes.
Mr. Chairman, I move to renew the bowling alley license for Candlewood Lanes, 35 Main Street, to expire May 1st, 2002, subject to all regulatory department requirements.
Second. Motion been made and seconded. Let's see, as far as reports, do you have the reports of them all? I don't have my reports here. Well, if you have it, you can assist me.
Yeah,
Just one of that?
Just fine.
Okay, so nothing due, and, okay, everything's fine. Very good. Any further discussion on the renewal of Candlewood Lanes? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Unanimous. This one is what, Pro Lanes.
Mr. Chairman, I move to renew the bowling alley license for Pro Lanes 160 Main Street to expire May 1st, 2002, subject to all regulatory department requirements.
Second.
Then report on Pro Lanes, seeing nothing due. Everything's all set. So, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Unanimous. Transient vendor license. Mr. Roach.
Mr. Chairman, I move to renew the transit vendor license for Brian Roach, 17 Sunset Ave, for the sale of flowers not within 300 feet of a major intersection on Route 28 to expire December 31st, 2001.
Second.
Motion duly made and seconded. Again, this was a license which we did issue last year after much discussion. Again, we have a report from the planning administrator suggesting that it requires site plan review from the CPC, and suggests again that we issue it prior to the site plan review approval process. The board has issued it in the past, and we just did one a couple of weeks ago with Mr. Connors up at the Horseshoe Cafe site, and at that time the board suggested that we should this particular year, but whatever process and procedures must be followed in relation to site plan review. If they're applicable, the applicants would be held responsible for going through those processes. I don't know what the wishes are of the board.
Discussion.
Yep, Mr. Vino.
Just a question, if I may, Mr. Chair, through you too, Mr. Younger. I noticed the building department did not respond what they requested to.
Yes, they are.
It's not here. Just, I don't know if that's because of the issue I brought up.
No, if they haven't responded, they don't have an issue with it.
Could you please make a note to them to respond? I'd rather have it in front of me than to have to assume that. Thank you.
Now, the motion before us is as we had it printed here, as far as not within 300 feet of a major intersection. What are the wishes of the board as far as informing the applicant? Do we want to include it in the motion, or just have the administration inform them that it may be subject to site plan review as suggested by the planning administrator?
I agree.
Or do we want to include it in the motion so that there be formal notice that the board feels
I
as
think
though...
you can actually do it anyway. I think just a simple memo with the license renewal memo just indicating that there's a possibility it has to go through site plan review next year. I personally don't see what this has to do with site plan review, but if in fact CPC is going to continually stress this thing, I think we should either get an answer from the community planning board why they feel that it's so important to go for site plan review for a van to be sitting there selling flowers, then so be it. But I think we should get at least an explanatory reason back from CPC, because we are the issuing body. We do issue the license. If in fact the indication here is that there's a zoning violation of some sort, I'd like to know why they feel there's a zoning violation. I would just simply put a memo on with the license renewal that there's a good possibility they have to go for site plan review next year before a license will be issued. And as long as they get that prior to the application period, they should have ample time to go before CPC or go wherever they got to go to get all these.
Oh, yeah, they don't have to wait till the renewal time to do it. I mean, they can actually go for site plan review at any time of the year. And we should encourage them to do that so that we don't run into these problems continuously. And in addition to that, I think we need to do it in order to get the issue clarified. So,
That's what was explained to Mr. Connors, because he was here.
Right.
And he was told he have to